Story 1. Huitlacoke, also known as corn smut, is a black fungus that grows on corn. Delicious. Story 2. If you saw soup in any context other than food, you would think it was a result of bad plumbing. Story 3. Shrimp. They look like little ugly sea bugs. One of my favorite things to eat, and they can go in literally every type of cuisine. Story 4. Southern sausage gravy looks like actual vomit and is the best thing you will ever eat. Story 5. Oatmeal. It looks like you are eating a soggy popcorn ceiling, but it is something that can be made with many different delicious flavors. Story 6. Who was the person who first encountered a raw oyster and decided that it might be edible? Story 7. There are some curry dishes that resemble human baby feces. Story 8. Many people will disagree that it is delicious, but I love the green bean casserole served on holidays like Thanksgiving. The look of it stopped me from trying it until I was an adult and took some to be polite. I tasted it, and now I am happy to take home as many leftovers as possible. Story 9. Mole literally looks like diarrhea to me, but tastes so good. Story 10. Beef stew. Looks like it has been drained from a sewer pipe, but tastes like everything is right with the world. Story 11. Shrimp is fairly disturbing. It also proves that people have no problem eating insects if they are delicious enough. Story 12. University, also known as sea urchin. I thought I had found one in my yard, but on closer inspection, it was my dog's feces. Story 13. Biscuits and sausage gravy. So plain to look at but very delicious. Story 14. I'm pretty sure biscuits and gravy have the widest range of appearance compared to deliciousness. I enjoy watching English people and others not from the United States react to seeing it and then trying it for the first time. Story 15. Imagine meeting the first person desperate enough to try eating crab. Story 16. Black pudding. People say it is gross just because of the way it looks and what it actually is. Have you tried it? No, you have not. It is nectar. Story 17. Huitlacoke is a corn fungus. I had it in quesadillas. It is good. Story 18. Oysters look like someone sneezed and spat phlegm on a rock, but somehow with a bit of lemon and hot sauce, they are tasty. Story 19. Soft melted chocolate. It may look unappealing but tastes far more magical than regular chocolate. Story 20. Corned beef hash and beans. It is a quick, easy, filling, tasty, stick-to-your-ribs meal, ideal for cold weather. Unfortunately, it also looks like you are eating canned dog food. Story 21. Persian pheasantine was my favorite food growing up whenever my mom made it. However, it quite literally looks like diarrhea on rice with chicken. Story 22. Mammy basically looks unappetizing in the box but tastes much better. Story 23. Sirden is a traditional Turkish dish from the Adana region. It is made from the stomach lining of a lamb or sheep, typically the abomasum, which is the last of the 4 stomach chambers in ruminant animals. Sirden is cleaned thoroughly, stuffed with a mixture of rice, spices, and minced meat, then sewn or tied up and slowly cooked in a broth. It is a popular street food, especially enjoyed at night, and has a unique texture and rich flavor due to the spices and slow cooking process. Story 24. I love lobster, but just look at it. It is objectively terrifying and repulsive looking, and we eat it with absolutely no processing. We eat the lobster with relish and gusto. In contrast, my dear cat is plump and lovely to look at. She is absolutely adorable. Yet I would be repulsed to fricassee her, even though, properly marinated, she would no doubt taste heavenly, perhaps with a fine chilled toe bean compote as a side dish accompaniment. But no, I would never. Story 25. Heaven and Hell. A South German dish of fried blood sausage and fried liver sausage, served with braised sauerkraut and boiled potatoes. The sausages, when mixed, resemble sudden diarrhea. Everything mushed together as it should be eaten. Looks like someone ate the diarrhea with a side dish on a dare and vomited it out violently. There are other variations of this dish all over Central Europe, sometimes called heaven and earth, but they usually look less repulsive. Story 26. Guacamole does not look particularly appetizing to someone who does not know better, but the taste is beyond delicious. Story 27. Pickled pig's feet. At least the old ones. All the products these days smell unpleasant. We raised pigs. Story 28. Durian is definitely one of those love it or hate it foods. Its spiky, pungent exterior might be off-putting, but the flavor is incredible, sweet, creamy, and like a mix of almonds and caramel. In places like the Philippines, it is used in everything from shakes to cakes, and once you get past the initial smell, it is surprisingly addictive. Story 29. Corn casserole looks unappetizing until you take a bite, and 2 minutes later, you have nearly finished the entire dish. Story 30. I used to think guacamole looked disgusting. After I tried it, I thought, this is the best thing ever. Story 31. I don't know, the grossest sounding food is definitely macaroni and cheese, though, when you are stirring in the cheese. Story 32. Oatmeal may not look appealing, but when cooked with milk only, not water, and topped with cinnamon, sea salt, nutmeg, walnuts, and berries, it is truly delicious. Story 33. Maybe an unpopular opinion. Split pea soup and also refried beans. Story 34. That fruit is a medicine for cancer. I forgot its name. Jackfruits are also nice. Story 35. Animal livers are very delicious when cooked and topped with lemon, oregano, and olive oil. Story 36. I love refried beans, but if you put a scoop on the floor beside your dog kennel, you would be angry at what your dog did on the carpet. Story 37. Sundae is a Korean blood sausage, especially when it is not sliced. Story 38. I think back to the episode of the Boondocks where Riley refuses to eat Mrs. DuBois's peach cobbler because it looked like vomit. The best kind of peach cobbler looks like vomit. That is the sugar and peach juice leaving a crackly glaze on the crust. And it is delicious. Story 39. Mussels look unappealing, but they are my favorite food at any seafood restaurant. Story 40. I have a jar of pickled eggplant that looks like a sea creature or brains. Story 41. Jerk chicken that was made in the oven instead of barbecue. It looks unappetizing but tastes like a divine blessing for your tongue. Story 42. Tripe is delicious with a bit of vinegar. It is the lining of a cow's stomach. Story 43. In Germany, especially in the northern part, we have a meal called Grünkohl or Braunkohl, depending on the region. It looks like a cow sat on your plate. Grün means green and Braun means brown, but it is very delicious. Story 44. Barbacoa is unpleasant in its raw form but absolutely amazing when it is cooked. Story 45. Probably head cheese, both because of the name and the unusual chunky gelatinous appearance. It just tastes like bologna, as that is essentially what it is. Story 46. I'm cheating a bit, but kind of. Others say it is delicious, but I am not into it. It is raw sea urchin. Many Polynesian people eat it. It looks like orange slugs. Story 47. In my personal experience, cretins. Story 48. Skyline chili. It looks like diarrhea on spaghetti, but it tastes good. Story 49. Black pudding looks exactly how you would expect but tastes somewhat better. Story 50. Sacholi look like something you would find inside a clogged pipe and smell like a sweaty armpit. Story 51. Coddle is a dish people from Dublin love, but I am not a fan myself. Story 52. After tooth surgery, I think I know this one. Baby food that comes in flakes and then you add water. It looks like vomit but tastes like it fell straight from heaven. Story 53. Moreton Bay bug looks like a facehugger from Alien. I have not eaten one, but my husband and brother, two separate people, had them as surf and turf in Brisbane and said it was nice. Story 54. Chocolate. Sure, it looks appealing under normal conditions, but put a melted bar of it in a new diaper, and the appeal just is not there. Story 55. I make lentils that my daughter calls cat food because it looks like mushy kibble. We love it though. Story 56. Cream spinach and peas with paneer. Gross looking but so delicious. Story 57. Goober is really good but looks like a reddish-brown paste. Story 58. Avocado. I love the taste, but the slimy texture and appearance are really off-putting. Story 59. Chicken bog is delicious but looks like someone just tossed a few random foods into a pot and overcooked them by several hours, which actually is not far from the actual recipe. It just happens to taste delicious. Story 60. Clams, especially the large ones, look like embryos and taste fabulous. Story 61. Pistachios are the ugliest nut but arguably one of the best tasting. Story 62. I guess shepherd's pie looks like a steaming pie of unpleasant food on your plate, but then you eat it and it is really good. Story 63. Aubergine dip is a Greek salad dish made of peeled and roasted aubergine mashed with olive oil. It looks like gray leper's pus but is thoroughly delicious. Story 64. A durian is said to taste somewhat like a grapefruit, but it smells like rotten feces and is very difficult to cut through. It is literally a tough, spiky ball that most people do not want to eat. Story 65. Tripas, also known as intestines, are amazing when cooked nice and crispy. Story 66. Rat pie looks unappealing no matter how you make it, but it tastes really good. Story 67. Lablabi, look it up. Some photos actually look somewhat good, but if you scroll down, you will find more realistic ones that are therefore more accurate. Story 68. Had my first pie floater in Sydney. It looked like green soup over a meat pie. It was heavenly. Story 69. We used to be served cheesy beef nachos for school lunch. It looked like diarrhea and vomit mixed together. Tasted like mint. We had to pay for extras every time. Story 70. Poutine is a lumpy, leaky brown mess that literally has poo in the name, but it is one of the best comfort foods you will ever have. Story 71. Raw oysters are one of my favorite foods. Many people will not even try them based on their appearance alone. Story 72. Poached veal brains for the win. Do an image search. They are actually quite tasty with a brown butter and caper sauce. Story 73. Passion fruit and its cousin the granadilla look unappealing. Story 74. Baba ganoush is roasted eggplant mashed with garlic and tahini. It has a grayish color but tastes delicious. It is great as a dip with pita bread or naan. It does not look as good as it does in the picture. Story 75. Oysters, lobster, shrimp, calamari, escargot, deviled eggs, jello. Story 76. Passion fruit looks like mucus with clumps of black seeds. Tastes like heaven. Story 77. My chili. Basically, I don't like the beans that are in chili, so when I make it, I don't use beans. Instead, I throw in a can of refried beans. It makes my chili look like a boiling pot of mud. But it's really delicious. Story 78. Now I'm gonna have to try it. Is it somewhere in the canned vegetables aisle? Supermarket fresh? Help needed aisle 3. Story 79. Milk with hot dogs. It seems unappetizing, but it is actually quite good. Story 80. I am not sure if anyone has said this before, but sweetbreads refer to the thymus gland. As a butcher, I remove the thymus gland. I would only think it would be eaten out of desperation. However, at a nice restaurant, it tastes amazing. Story 81. When I was a kid, it was creamed chipped beef on toast. Story 82. Fresh durian. I challenge anyone to try it. Try not to smell it. Story 83. Corned beef hash and it can looks like dog food and looks nasty, but it is delicious, especially with some buttered tortillas. I miss having to eat that growing up. Story 84. Manicoba is a Brazilian dish most consumed in the north and northeast regions. It is made with a poisonous herb that needs to be boiled for 7 days to be safe for consumption. When it is done, it looks unappetizing, but it is truly delicious. Story 85. Cow dung patties made in India are actually not bad. Story 86. I cannot personally say it is delicious, but I must mention any kind of risotto. It looks unappetizing, and I have only had one that was undercooked and still had crunchy bits of rice. Story 87. I went to a vegan restaurant with my sister, who is vegan, and we ordered breakfast. It came with vegan sausage that looked like a burnt and dried out piece of dog feces. Neither of us wanted to try it, but since the meal was pricey, I was going to eat it. It was delicious. Both of us loved it. You just had to get past how unpleasant it looked. It reminded me of the scene in Defending Your Life when Albert Brooks is eating dinner with his lawyer and sees his lawyer's meal. It is a black blob, and his lawyer explains that he can manipulate his taste buds to make it taste however he wants. Story 88. Probably scrapple. A blob of gray meat that is very delicious when heat and oil are applied. Story 89. Bread pudding, especially with honey or syrup, looks like someone put it in their mouth, chewed a bit, and then spat it out again. It is actually delicious if you do not mind the texture, though. Story 90. Daintymore beef stew looks unappetizing, but it tastes very good. Story 91. It is like breaking open a crab. It resembles an overgrown cockroach. Story 92. Biscuits and gravy. I refused to try it until my wife encouraged me. Now I love it. Story 93. Sea cucumber looks unusual and can have a strong taste, but if cooked properly, it is delicious. Story 94. I've been sick, so I made cream of chicken soup the other day. I often stir an egg or two into it like egg drop soup. I added an extra egg and then overstirred it, so it ended up looking like very runny oatmeal with a pile of grits in it. It was very delicious. Story 95. Boiled chicken and rice served with ginger and scallion sauce. Canned beans, canned tuna, spam, rice cakes, tofu, onion, sausages, Kraft singles, kimchi, ramen, and rice cakes all cooked in a soup. Story 96. Stinkhorn eggs. There is not much that looks less appetizing. They look like an egg wrapped in brown paper material that covers clear goo, which covers a delicious solid growing mushroom that is rich and flavorful. I picked this because someone else picked corn smut. Story 97. In Newfoundland, we have a dish called blood pudding. It is very common. Story 98. Natto. It looks slimy and gooey. I thought I would hate it, but it is actually really good. Story 99. The protein in Amy's vegan chili is tofu. It is still delicious. Story 100. Chipped beef and gravy over chunked bread, whether sliced bread, pancakes, or biscuits. Story 101. Most Indonesian food does not look great, but it is delicious. Story 102. Hungarian Hurka sausage. When I was younger, my grandmother and mother would make it often if they could get some from the meat market in my hometown. I didn't know it contained pig liver and lungs, and it looks like a literal turd when it is being cooked. But it is delicious. Story 103. Palak paneer is a popular Indian vegetarian dish made with spinach and cottage cheese. It is rich in flavor and nutrients, combining the health benefits of spinach with the creamy texture of paneer. This dish is commonly served with roti, naan, or rice. To prepare palak paneer, fresh spinach leaves are blanched and blended into a smooth puree, which is then cooked with spices, garlic, ginger, and onions. Cubes of paneer are added to the thickened spinach gravy and simmered until all the flavors meld together. Palak paneer is not only delicious but also a great source of protein, iron, and calcium, making it a wholesome and satisfying meal option. Story 104. Sardines smell unpleasant and look unappealing, but I like them. Story 105. Beef stroganoff. Gray meat and sauce over egg noodles. Looks unappealing but tastes great. Story 106. Passion fruit looks unappealing, but it is delicious. Story 107. Not the grossest, but in general Indian food, mainly curries, looks like something you vomited after having too much beer and kombucha. Absolutely delicious though. Story 108. Anything with a decent amount of tomatoes and cream in it looks like vomit but probably tastes really good. Story 109. I actually do not know of any unappetizing food that is delicious to me. My unusual food combinations may seem unappealing to some, but the foods themselves do not look disgusting. Story 110. Maryland steam crabs. Nothing comes close to this. First of all, it looks like a spider. If you want to eat it, you have to literally rip it apart, pulling the shell off. You're greeted with lime green fat that covers stringy-looking intestines and, of course, lungs, which people call gills. If you accidentally eat the gills, you might end up in the emergency room. It's not so bad, but you have to pull the legs off to crack them open and get the meat out. This is time-consuming but makes the effort worthwhile because it is my favorite food in the world. When a non-Marylander eats crabs like this, they will eat just one, then eat them by the dozens. Story 111. Lumpy, creamy oats with lots of apple shreds. It does not look very presentable, but I love it. Story 112. I always gag when I see natto. I have never tasted it, but some people swear by it. Story 113. Chipulins or grasshoppers are very good if you get them from the right place. Story 114. Kazakh delicacy kaze shuzik is horse meat stuffed into natural horse casing. Story 115. Raw oysters. Imagine being the first person to try eating a raw oyster. Story 116. In Belgium, we sometimes make pudding out of bread. It looks unusual but is delicious. Story 117. Peel and eat shrimp resemble eating insects. You end up with a bucket of heads with beady eyes staring back at you as you eat them. Story 118. I had some chili once that looked like diarrhea. It looked absolutely disgusting. It was so delicious I went back for seconds. Always try something before you judge it too harshly. Story 119. Labskaus, a dish from northern Germany. Looks like a suspicious brown mush but tastes delicious. Story 120. Grew up eating scrapple and will always love it. Just a slab of something crisped up in a skillet, and I am good to go. Story 121. Olive oil with bread is a Moroccan dish. You probably think it tastes gross and is unhealthy, but it is the complete opposite. It is really delicious. It is important to use Moroccan olive oil, not olive oil from the grocery store. Story 122. Mammy is a dessert in Finland, traditionally eaten around Easter. It has a dark, thick appearance. Story 123. Madrid chaos. It is definitely an acquired taste, but if you get the hang of the texture and the flavor, it is delicious. It has a strong scent and leaves a strong aftertaste in the upper palate. In my country, Mexico, we eat pancita, which is beef belly, and it has a similar texture, so it was not entirely alien to me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.